The crimson alert klaxon ripped through the station, a jarring counterpoint to the gentle hum of the hydroponics bay where Grayson tended his experimental algae. He straightened, wiping sweat from his brow, a knot of dread tightening in his gut. The Kryll ultimatum. It had been expected, yet the finality of it, the stark choice between abandonment and annihilation, felt like a physical blow. He glanced at the shimmering green tanks, the culmination of years of research, a testament to humanity's tenacity, and felt a surge of defiance. They wouldn't give up Cygnus without a fight. He joined the rest of the crew in the command center, the air thick with tension. The Kryll ambassador's image flickered on the main screen, its multifaceted eyes cold and unyielding. The insectoid form, a shimmering tapestry of chitin and bioluminescence, radiated an aura of absolute authority. Its voice, a series of clicks and whistles translated by the station's AI, echoed in the tense silence. The human infestation must cease. Your presence disrupts the delicate balance of Cygnus. You have one cycle to comply. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken threat. Grayson looked around at the faces of his colleagues, a mixture of fear, anger, and resignation etched on their features. He saw Dr. Anya Sharma, their lead xenolinguist, her lips pressed into a thin line, and Captain Eva Rostova, her jaw clenched, her hand resting on the console as if she could somehow hold back the inevitable. He was supposed to be the one with solutions. The bioengineer. The miracle worker. But facing the unyielding logic of the Kryll collective, he felt utterly powerless. Later, driven by a desperate need to escape the suffocating atmosphere of the station, Grayson took a small research vessel into the upper layers of Cygnus's atmosphere. He collected samples of the exotic extremophiles thriving in the turbulent gases, hoping against hope to find something, anything, that could give them an edge. Then he saw her. A flash of iridescent light caught his eye. A Kryll, but unlike any he had seen before. Smaller, more delicate, with feathered wings that shimmered with an ethereal glow. She hovered near his vessel, her multifaceted eyes fixed on him with an unnerving intensity. He fumbled for his scanner, trying to understand what he was seeing. He recognized the research insignia. A scientist. Hesitantly, he opened a comm channel. Identify yourself. Her voice, surprisingly melodic, filled his headset. I am Vila. And you are the bioengineer, Grayson. Your methods intrigue me. Their initial conversations were stilted, a cautious dance around scientific concepts and guarded inquiries about each other's cultures. He learned of the Kryll collective, its rigid hierarchy, its utilitarian view of life, the very foundation of their ultimatum. She, in turn, was fascinated by his empathy for the extremophiles he studied, a concept alien to the Kryll. One day, while sharing data on the unique metabolic processes of a Cygnian bacteria, he felt a shift in the air, a subtle change in her demeanor. He reached out, almost instinctively, to adjust a sensor on her data pod, his fingers brushing against the delicate structure of her exoskeleton. The contact was electric, a jolt that ran through both of them. He recoiled, his heart pounding, unsure if he had caused her pain. But she remained still, her luminescence pulsing with a newfound intensity. In that moment, amidst the swirling chaos of Cygnus's atmosphere, something profound shifted between them. The Kryll ambassador, sensing Vila's growing connection with Grayson, demanded her immediate return. The next cycle, a Kryll patrol ship opened fire on a remote human research platform, a clear escalation of hostilities. Vila, her multifaceted eyes filled with a desperate resolve, transmitted the patrol ship's trajectory to Grayson moments before the attack, saving the lives of the researchers stationed there. It was a treasonous act, a betrayal of her own kind, but she made the choice without hesitation. That night, Grayson received a message from Earth. A transport ship was on its way, offering him a chance to return home. He looked out the viewport at the swirling clouds of Cygnus, then back at the data stream from Vila's latest transmission, detailing a potential symbiotic relationship between Kryll and human biotechnologies. He deactivated the message from Earth. He couldn't leave. Not now. Not while there was a chance, however slim, to build a bridge between their two worlds, and perhaps, more importantly, to bridge the growing chasm within his own heart. The swirling ammonia clouds of Cygnus painted the viewport in hues of violet and ochre as Grayson piloted his research skiff. The ultimatum echoed in his mind, a death knell for the outpost, for years of work, for the fragile hope of understanding this alien world. He adjusted the atmospheric sampler, a familiar routine that did little to soothe the gnawing anxiety. Then, a flicker of bioluminescence, like a fallen star amidst the churning gas. Vila. He opened the comm channel, his voice tight. You shouldn't be here. It's too dangerous. Danger is a relative concept, Grayson, her voice, a chime of clicks and whistles filtered through the translator, replied. And curiosity, as you humans say, killed the Cathu. But satisfaction brought it back. He chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. We don't have 9 lives, Vila. Especially not with the Kryll collective breathing down our necks. Yet you persist in venturing into the unknown. Why? He hesitated. How could he explain the human drive to explore, to understand, to push the boundaries of knowledge even in the face of annihilation? Because we have to. It's in our nature. It's what gives us hope. He watched her through the viewport, her delicate wings catching the faint sunlight filtering through the clouds. They spoke for hours, exchanging data, discussing their vastly different approaches to science. He learned more about the Kryll collective, the relentless pursuit of efficiency, the suppression of individual thought. Vila, in turn, absorbed his explanations of human empathy, the value placed on individual life, concepts that seemed to both fascinate and confuse her. He showed her the bioluminescent algae he was studying, explaining how they could potentially be adapted to provide a sustainable light source for the Kryll subterranean hives. He reached out, hesitantly, to adjust a sensor on her data pod, his fingers brushing against the delicate, chitinous structure of her exoskeleton. The contact startled them both. He pulled back, expecting a rebuke, a flash of anger. Instead, her luminescence intensified, a soft, pulsing glow that seemed to emanate from deep within. Your touch, it is different, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Not like the others. The air in the small cabin crackled with an unspoken tension. He felt a pull towards her, a connection that defied logic, that transcended the vast gulf between their species. He wanted to reach out again, to touch her, to understand the strange energy that flowed between them. But the memory of Lisa, his wife, lost in the colony ship disaster 5 years ago, a gaping wound he thought had begun to heal, pulsed with renewed pain. He was here to do a job, to find a solution, not to form attachments. Vila sensed his withdrawal. The collective demands my return. They grow or suspicious. A flicker of fear, quickly masked, crossed her multifaceted eyes. They do not understand my interest in your methods. Later that day, the Kryll patrol ship emerged from the cloud cover, its energy cannons charged. A direct hit would vaporize the remote research platform where Anya and a handful of other scientists were collecting atmospheric data. Grayson watched in horror, frozen by the suddenness of the attack. But then, Vila's voice crackled in his headset, a stream of encrypted data detailing the patrol ship's trajectory. He relayed the information to Anya just seconds before the Kryll fired, giving her barely enough time to activate the platform's emergency shields. Vila's act of defiance, of betrayal, sent a shockwave through the human outpost. It was a lifeline, a desperate plea for understanding, but also a dangerous gamble. The collective would not tolerate dissent. That night, the message from Earth arrived. The transport ship was ready. He could go home. Escape the looming threat of the Kryll, the suffocating weight of responsibility. He looked at the swirling clouds of Cygnus, then back at the data stream from Vila, her latest research on the symbiotic potential of the extremophiles. He closed the Earth transmission. He couldn't leave. Not now. Not while there was a chance, however small, to build a bridge, not just between two worlds, but between the aching emptiness within him and the flicker of hope he saw in Vila's iridescent eyes. The Kryll hive shimmered, a colossal structure of bioluminescent chitin and pulsating organic conduits, suspended within the swirling gases of Cygnus. Inside, Vila stood before the Kryll Queen, the embodiment of the collective's will. The air crackled with unspoken disapproval. "Your fascination with the human Grayson borders on unacceptable," the Queen's voice echoed through the chamber, a dissonant chorus of clicks and whistles. "Their methods are chaotic, inefficient. Their existence, a threat. They seek only understanding, my Queen," Vila countered, her voice trembling slightly. "Their science, it offers possibilities. Possibilities that jeopardize the balance. Their empathy weakens them. They are a resource to be utilized, not embraced." Guilt gnawed at Vila. She knew the collective was wrong, that Grayson's respect for life, his unwavering belief in cooperation, held the key to a future where Kryll and humans could coexist. But how could she convince a hive mind that prioritized the collective over the individual, that saw empathy as a weakness? She returned to her research chamber, the Queen's words ringing in her antennae. She activated the comlink to Grayson, his face appearing on the small screen, etched with worry. The human outpost was on high alert, expecting a retaliatory strike for their continued presence. "The collective grows impatient," she said, her voice strained. "They see your research as a provocation." "I'm working on a proposal, Vila," Grayson replied, his voice low. "A way to show them the benefits of our collaboration. But I need more data on the Kryll's metabolic processes. Can you access their archives?" It was a dangerous request. Accessing restricted information was treason. But Vila couldn't shake the feeling that Grayson's plan, however audacious, was their only hope. She spent the next cycle sifting through the forbidden archives, the fear of discovery a cold knot in her thorax. The data she uncovered was startling. The Kryll, despite their technological prowess, were facing a resource crisis. Their reliance on a single, rare enzyme found only in the depths of Cygnus was becoming unsustainable. Just as she was about to transmit the data to Grayson, the station alarms blared. A Kryll attack squadron was heading towards the human outpost, their weapons charged. The Queen, misinterpreting a routine human research expedition as a hostile act, had ordered a preemptive strike. Panic seized Vila. This was it. The end. But then, a thought, a desperate, reckless gamble. She rerouted the squadron's trajectory data, sending it directly to Grayson, warning him of the impending attack. It was an act of treason, a betrayal of everything the collective stood for. But in that moment, she chose Grayson, chose the fragile hope of a future they were building together, over the rigid dictates of her own kind. Grayson, using Vila's intel, managed to divert the attack squadron, saving the outpost from certain destruction. He knew the risks Vila had taken, the price she might pay for her defiance. The weight of it settled on him, a crushing burden of gratitude and fear. That night, a message from Earth flickered on his console. The transport ship was ready. His chance to escape, to return home, was here. He looked out the viewport, at the swirling chaos of Cygnus, then at the data stream from Vila, her whispered words of hope echoing in his heart. He deactivated the message. He couldn't leave. Not now. Not ever. He contacted Vila, his voice thick with emotion. "Thank you," he whispered. "For everything." "There is still hope," she replied, her luminescence pulsing faintly. "But time is short." They continued their work, the shared danger forging a bond between them that defied logic, that transcended the vast chasm between their species. One day, while working on the bioluminescent algae, Grayson reached out to adjust a sensor on Vila's data pod. His fingers brushed against her exoskeleton, the contact sending a jolt through both of them. He pulled back, his heart pounding. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Your touch, it is strange," she replied, her luminescence flickering erratically. "Not unpleasant. But unknown." He realized then how little he understood about her species, about their way of experiencing everything. He had to be patient, to learn, to bridge not only the scientific divide between them, but also the immense emotional and cultural gulf. He told her about Lisa, about the pain of loss, about the hope that their work, their connection, had rekindled within him. She listened, her multifaceted eyes fixed on him with an intensity that both unnerved and comforted him. She spoke of her own dreams, her desire to prove that the Kryll could be more than just a hive mind, that they could be individuals, capable of empathy, of cooperation. Their journey was far from over. The collective suspicion intensified, the threat of discovery loomed over them like a storm cloud. But amidst the chaos, in the quiet sanctuary of their shared research, their connection deepened, a fragile beacon of hope in a galaxy teetering on the brink of war. They knew that even if they succeeded in forging peace, their union would be met with resistance, with condemnation, from both their peoples. But they also knew that their love, born in the heart of a galactic storm, had the potential to reshape the future, to create a new paradigm of understanding, where difference was not a threat, but a bridge to something greater. Grayson's plan was audacious, borderline insane. Use human bioengineering to create a symbiotic relationship between humans and Kryll, proving their value to Cygnus and overturning the ultimatum. He'd spent the last few sleepless cycles refining the details, poring over Veela's data on Kryll physiology, cross-referencing it with his own research on the extremophiles. He needed to create something undeniable, a solution to a problem the Kryll didn't even realize they had. He'd found it, he thought, in the data Veela had risked everything to provide. The Kryll relied heavily on a specific enzyme for metabolic regulation, harvested from a creature deep within Cygnus's turbulent core. The harvest was becoming increasingly difficult, the creatures dwindling in number. His solution: engineer a strain of his extremophile algae to produce the same enzyme, a sustainable, readily available supply. He transmitted the proposal to Veela, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. He waited, the silence of the comlink stretching into an eternity. Finally, her voice, tinged with awe and a hint of fear, filled his headset. "This is unexpected. Bold. Dangerous. It's our only chance, Veela," he pleaded. "It's a way to show them that we're not a threat, that we can be an asset. The collective, they do not trust easily. They will see this as manipulation. Then we have to show them it's not. We have to show them the potential, the benefits." Veela agreed, but the fear in her voice was palpable. She began collecting samples of Kryll tissue, a dangerous act that could expose her collaboration with Grayson. He watched her work through the viewport of his skiff, her delicate movements betraying a tension he felt mirroring within himself. He was torn. He yearned for the quiet intimacy of their shared research, the flicker of connection that sparked between them. But he was also acutely aware of the danger he was putting her in. One evening, as they were discussing the finer points of enzyme synthesis, their hands brushed while adjusting a sensor on Veela's data pod. The contact was electric, a shock that resonated through both of them. Grayson recoiled, his heart pounding, his mind flooded with the memory of Lisa's hand in his, warm and familiar, now forever cold. He looked at Veela, searching for signs of pain, of revulsion. But her luminescence pulsed gently, her multifaceted eyes fixed on him with an unnerving intensity. "Your touch, it is different," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the hum of the equipment. "Not like the others." He realized then that she was just as uncertain, just as vulnerable, as he was. He explained his hesitation, the human fear of causing harm, the lingering pain of loss that made him hesitant to form new attachments. She tilted her head, her antennae twitching. "Loss is a universal constant. But life persists. Adaptation is essential." Her words, though alien in their phrasing, resonated with a truth that cut through his grief. Days later, the Kryll ambassador arrived at the human outpost for what was supposed to be a diplomatic meeting, a chance to discuss Grayson's proposal. But as the ambassador's shuttle docked, the station's alarms blared. A Kryll fleet, misinterpreting the ambassador's visit as a sign of weakness, launched a surprise attack. The station shuddered under a barrage of energy blasts, the lights flickering violently. Chaos erupted. Veela's voice, sharp with urgency, cut through the pandemonium. "They believe the ambassador is compromised. They intend to sterilize the station." Grayson felt a cold dread grip his heart. He had to get the ambassador off the station, but escape routes were blocked. He glanced at Veela, her luminescent form shimmering amidst the chaos. He made a split-second decision. "Get to the escape pods," he ordered. "I'll buy you some time." He knew he might be signing his own death warrant, but the thought of Veela perishing in the attack was unbearable. He activated the station's emergency defense systems, diverting power to the remaining shields, buying precious minutes for Veela and the ambassador to escape. As the Kryll fleet closed in, he felt a strange sense of peace. He'd chosen. He'd chosen Veela, chosen hope, chosen a future he might never see. The message from Earth, the offer of a return trip, flashed across his console one last time. He smiled, a bitter, wistful smile, and closed the transmission. He wouldn't be going home. The escape pod carrying Veela and the ambassador shot through the swirling clouds of Cygnus, leaving behind the burning wreckage of the human outpost. Veela watched the flames consume her hopes, her dreams, the fragile bridge she'd been building with Grayson. But amidst the despair, a flicker of resolve ignited within her. She would not let his sacrifice be in vain. She would find a way to prove to both her people and his that their connection, born in the heart of a galactic storm, had the potential to reshape the future. She would honor his memory by creating a new world, a world where Kryll and humans could not just coexist, but could thrive together, united by the very empathy the collective so feared. A world where love, not logic, guided their path. Whether that world would embrace them, or condemn them, remained to be seen. But amidst the chaos of a galaxy on the brink of war, their love had become a whisper of hope, a beacon in the darkness, a testament to the enduring power of connection, even across the vast gulf of interstellar space. The rhythmic hum of the bioreactors filled the small, sterile lab, a stark contrast to the thrum of anxiety that tightened Grayson's chest. Veela's data on the Kryll's enzyme dependency had been a breakthrough, a keystone to his plan for coexistence. Yet, the closer they got to a solution, the greater the risk became. He glanced at the shimmering green algae in the tanks, pulsing with life, the embodiment of his desperate hope. He had to make this work. For humanity. For Veela. She entered the lab, her bioluminescence muted, her delicate wings drooping. "The collective is unhappy. My absence has been noted." "I know," he said, his voice low, his gaze meeting hers. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you to take such risks. It is necessary. I believe in your plan. In us." The last word was barely a whisper, a tremor of vulnerability that resonated deep within him. They worked in silence for a while, the only sound the gentle bubbling of the algae tanks. He showed her his latest modifications to the algae's genetic structure, explaining how they would produce the enzyme the Kryll needed. He reached out, his hand hovering over the delicate structure of her exoskeleton, hesitant. "Can I?" She tilted her head, her multifaceted eyes shimmering. "Your touch, it is unfamiliar. Proceed, cautiously." He gently placed his hand on her carapace, the smooth, cool surface surprisingly soft. A jolt, not of pain, but of something else, something akin to electricity, coursed through him. He pulled back, his heart pounding. "It is acceptable," she murmured, her luminescence pulsing faintly. He exhaled, relieved. He told her about Lisa, about the colony ship disaster, about the emptiness that had consumed him, an emptiness he thought would never fade. She listened patiently, her antennae twitching, her silence a comforting presence. Loss is a part of existence. But life adapts. It continues. Her words, though alien, resonated with a profound truth that soothed his aching heart. Later that week, as the Kryll ambassador's shuttle approached the station, the alarms blared. A Kryll fleet, misinterpreting the ambassador's visit as a sign of human aggression, had launched a surprise attack. The station shuddered under a barrage of energy blasts, plunging them into darkness. "They think the ambassador is compromised," Veela's voice crackled in his headset. "They will destroy the station." Panic clawed at his throat. He had to get the ambassador out. He had to save Veela. He activated the station's remaining defenses, diverting power to the shields, buying precious minutes. "Get to the escape pods," he ordered, his voice tight with urgency. "Go." "But you?" "There's no time." "Go." He watched as she and the ambassador scrambled towards the escape bay, his heart tearing in two. He was choosing her, choosing hope, choosing a future he might never see. The message from Earth, offering him passage home, flashed across his console. He smiled, a sad, bittersweet smile, and closed the transmission. He wouldn't be going home. The escape pod, a tiny speck against the vast backdrop of Cygnus, shot away from the burning station. Veela looked back, her multifaceted eyes filled with a mixture of grief and determination. She would not let Grayson's sacrifice be in vain. The Kryll fleet, their mission accomplished, retreated into the swirling clouds. The station, a testament to human ingenuity and resilience, was reduced to smoldering debris. But in the quiet refuge of the escape pod, amidst the chaos of a galaxy teetering on the brink of war, a seed of hope had been planted. A seed nurtured by empathy, by sacrifice, by a love that defied logic, a love that whispered of a future where Kryll and humans could not just coexist, but thrive together, their differences a bridge to something greater. Whether that future would embrace them, or condemn them, remained to be seen. The Kryll hive, a pulsating, bioluminescent city within the swirling Cygnian atmosphere, felt both alien and strangely familiar to Veela. The rhythmic hum of the collective, the constant flow of information, had always been a source of comfort, of belonging. But now, it was a cage. Her thoughts, her feelings, her growing connection with Grayson felt like a discordant melody against the hive's harmonious drone. She stood before the Kryll queen, the embodiment of the collective, her delicate wings trembling. "Your continued interaction with the human, Grayson, is concerning," the queen's voice, a symphony of clicks and whistles, echoed through the chamber. "Their methods are chaotic, inefficient. Their empathy, a weakness. They seek understanding, my queen," Veela countered, her voice barely a whisper against the thrum of the hive. "Their science offers possibilities. They are not a threat. Potential is irrelevant. Their presence disrupts the balance. Their empathy, a vulnerability." Veela felt a pang of guilt, a traitorous splinter in the hive mind. She knew the queen, the collective, were wrong. Grayson's empathy, his respect for all life, was not a weakness, but a strength. It was what drew her to him, what made her question the rigid logic of her own kind. Back in her research chamber, she activated the comlink to Grayson. His face, etched with worry, appeared on the small screen. "The collective grows suspicious," she said, her voice strained. "They fear your influence." "I know," he replied, his voice low. "I'm finishing the enzyme synthesis. It's our only hope." She hesitated. "There's something I haven't told you. The Kryll, we're facing a resource crisis. Our reliance on the enzyme, it's unsustainable. Your algae, it could become a salvation." The admission felt like a betrayal, a crack in the wall of her loyalty. But she also knew it was the truth, the key to their survival. Grayson's plan was not just a way to save the human outpost, it was a way to save her people. She began transmitting the data, her antennae buzzing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Suddenly, the station alarms blared. Kryll attack drones, misinterpreting a routine human research expedition as a hostile act, were converging on the human outpost. The queen, blinded by fear, had ordered a preemptive strike. Veela's mind raced. This was it. The end. But then, a spark of defiance, a desperate gamble. She rerouted the drone's trajectory data, sending it directly to Grayson, warning him of the impending attack. It was treason. But in that moment, she chose Grayson, chose hope, over the rigid dictates of her own kind. Grayson, using Veela's intel, managed to divert the drones, saving the outpost from certain destruction. He knew the risks she'd taken, the price she might pay. The weight of it settled on him, a crushing burden of gratitude and fear. Later, as they worked together in the lab, refining the algae's genetic structure, their hands brushed. He hesitated, his fingers hovering over her carapace. "Can I?" She tilted her head, her multifaceted eyes shimmering. Your touch is perplexing, but not unwelcome. Proceed, with caution. He gently touched her, the smooth, cool surface surprisingly soft. A strange energy, not unpleasant, flowed between them. He recoiled slightly, then, emboldened by her acceptance, placed his hand back on her carapace, feeling the subtle vibrations of her exoskeleton. He told her about Lisa, about the emptiness that had haunted him since her death. Vila listened patiently, her silence a comforting presence. Loss is a universal constant. But life persists. Adaptation is essential. Her words, though alien in their phrasing, resonated with a truth that cut through his grief. She spoke of her own dreams, her desire to prove that Kryll and humans could be more than just adversaries, that they could be equals, allies. The next day, a transport ship arrived from Earth, offering Grayson a chance to return home. He looked at the ship, then at Vila, her luminescent form a beacon in the swirling chaos of Cygnus. He deactivated the transmission from Earth. He wasn't going home. The Kryll ambassador, alerted by Vila's warning, arrived at the human outpost to negotiate. But the collective, fearing betrayal, launched a full-scale attack. The station shuddered under a barrage of energy blasts, the lights flickering violently. They believe the ambassador is compromised, Vila's voice crackled in his headset. They intend to sterilize the station. He had to get the ambassador out. He had to save Vila. Get to the escape pods, he ordered, his voice strained. But you? Go. There's no time. He activated the station's remaining defenses, diverting power to the shields, buying precious minutes for Vila and the ambassador to escape. As the Kryll fleet closed in, he felt a strange sense of peace. He had chosen. He had chosen Vila, chosen hope, chosen a future he might never see. Vila watched the station explode, her heart breaking. But amidst the despair, a flicker of resolve ignited within her. She would not let his sacrifice be in vain. She would find a way to make their dream a reality, a future where Kryll and humans could live together in peace. Their love, born in the heart of a galactic storm, had become a whisper of hope in a galaxy teetering on the brink of war. Whether that galaxy would embrace them, or condemn them, remained to be seen. But they had chosen each other, chosen a path that defied logic, a path illuminated by the fragile, unwavering light of their love. The Kryll research chamber, usually a sanctuary of quiet contemplation, pulsed with an unsettling energy. Vila paced, her chitinous legs clicking against the smooth floor, the soft glow of her bioluminescence reflecting her inner turmoil. Grayson's proposal, a daring gamble to prove humanity's worth by engineering algae to produce the vital enzyme the Kryll desperately needed, was their only hope. Yet, presenting it to the Queen, to the collective, felt like walking into the maw of a Cathu. "Are you certain this will persuade them?" she asked, her voice a chime of clicks and whistles, barely audible above the hum of the bioreactors. Grayson's image flickered on the comm screen, his face etched with a familiar blend of determination and worry. "It has to, Vila. It's the only way to show them we're not a threat, that we can be valuable allies." He spoke of coexistence, of a future where their two species could thrive together, his words painting a picture that both captivated and terrified her. Coexistence meant change, a deviation from the rigid structure of the Kryll collective, a concept that bordered on heresy. He hesitated, his gaze lingering on hers. "There's something I wanted to tell you about Lisa. My wife." His voice cracked slightly. She was lost in the colony ship disaster. 5 years ago. Vila tilted her head, her antennae twitching. She didn't fully understand the human concept of marriage, of romantic love, but she sensed the depth of his loss, the pain that lingered beneath his words. "Loss is a universal constant," she replied, her voice soft. "But life persists. Adaptation is essential." She, too, had known loss. her clutchmate, lost to a fungal infection, a memory that still stung, a reminder of the fragility of life, even within the seemingly invincible Kryll collective. She reached out, her delicate, clawed hand hovering over the screen, a gesture of comfort that transcended the vast gulf between their species. He mirrored her movement, his hand resting on the cool surface of the screen, separated by light years, yet somehow connected. The air in the chamber crackled with a sudden surge of energy. The Kryll ambassador, accompanied by a contingent of guards, materialized within the chamber. "The Queen awaits," the ambassador announced, its voice a dissonant chorus of clicks and whistles. "Your proposal will be evaluated." As Vila followed the ambassador towards the Queen's chamber, a sense of foreboding settled over her. She glanced back at Grayson's image on the screen, his face a mixture of hope and apprehension. She had to make this work. Not just for the humans, but for the future she envisioned, a future where her people could be more than just a hive mind, where individuality, empathy, could flourish. The Queen's chamber was a cavernous space, the walls pulsating with bioluminescent veins, the air thick with the scent of pheromones. The Queen, a massive, iridescent figure, dominated the center of the chamber, her multifaceted eyes radiating an unnerving intelligence. As Vila began to explain Grayson's proposal, the station alarms blared. Kryll attack drones, misinterpreting a routine human research expedition as a hostile act, were converging on the outpost. The Queen, gripped by fear, ordered a retaliatory strike. Chaos erupted. "They believe the ambassador is compromised," Vila cried, her voice rising above the din. "They will destroy the station." Her mind raced. This was it. The end. Then, a spark of defiance, a desperate act of betrayal. She rerouted the drone's trajectory data, sending it directly to Grayson. "Get to the escape pods," she shouted, her voice strained. "But you? There's no time. Go." He hesitated, his face etched with horror. "I'll buy you some time," he said, his voice barely a whisper. She watched in disbelief as he activated the station's remaining defenses, diverting power to the shields, buying precious minutes for her and the ambassador to escape. The Kryll guards, sensing her betrayal, moved to restrain her. She fought them off, her delicate wings a blur of motion, her desperation fueled by Grayson's sacrifice. She and the ambassador barely made it to the escape pods before the station exploded, consumed by a blinding flash of energy. Vila watched the flames, her heart breaking, the image of Grayson's face seared into her memory. In the quiet sanctuary of the escape pod, amidst the chaos of a galaxy on the brink of war, their love had become a whisper of hope. Whether their union would be embraced, or condemned, remained to be seen. But they had chosen each other, chosen a path illuminated by the fragile, unwavering light of their love, a beacon in the darkness of a galaxy teetering on the brink of war. The Kryll attack came without warning. One moment, Vila was explaining Grayson's proposal to the Kryll Queen, the next, the hive was pulsating with a frantic energy, the air thick with alarm pheromones. The Queen's multifaceted eyes, usually radiating a cold intelligence, now shimmered with fear. "They attack!" she screeched, her voice a dissonant chorus of clicks and whistles. "The humans! They betray us!" Vila's antennae twitched, her mind reeling. The humans? Attack? It was impossible. She glanced at the display screen, where Grayson's worried face was still visible. A routine human research vessel, venturing too close to a sensitive Kryll sensor array, had triggered the automated defense system. The Queen, already suspicious of human intentions, interpreted the incident as an act of aggression. "No!" Vila cried, her voice barely audible above the din. "It's a mistake. They don't mean to attack." But her words were lost in the rising tide of panic. Kryll drones, their mandibles clicking with predatory anticipation, swarmed towards the human outpost. Vila knew Grayson's algae, the key to their coexistence, was still in its early stages of development. The outpost, the humans, everything they had worked for, was about to be annihilated. Driven by a desperate need to warn Grayson, she intercepted the drone's command signal, rerouting their trajectory data directly to him. It was an act of treason, a betrayal of her own kind, but she didn't hesitate. She had chosen Grayson, chosen hope, over the rigid dictates of the hive mind. "Grayson," she cried into the comm, her voice strained. "They're attacking. It's a mistake. Get out." His face on the screen was a mask of disbelief, then horror. "Vila, what? No time. Escape." He looked at her, his eyes filled with a mixture of fear and something else. Something that made her antennae twitch, something that resonated deep within her exoskeleton. Love? Was that the human word for it? "Go," he shouted, his voice tight with urgency. "I'll buy you some time." She watched in disbelief as he activated the station's remaining defenses, diverting power to the shields, buying precious minutes for her and the ambassador to escape. The Kryll guards, sensing her betrayal, surged forward, their mandibles clicking menacingly. She fought them off, fueled by a desperate strength she didn't know she possessed, her delicate wings a blur of motion. She and the ambassador barely made it to the escape pods before the station exploded, consumed by a blinding flash of energy. As they hurtled away from the wreckage, Vila watched the flames, her heart breaking. Grayson. Gone. His sacrifice, his belief in a future where Kryll and humans could live together in peace, consumed by the very fear he'd been trying to overcome. Tears, a strange, viscous fluid she'd never experienced before, welled up in her multifaceted eyes. The ambassador, his chitinous face impassive, spoke. "Your actions were unacceptable. You have betrayed the collective." Vila met his gaze, her own eyes burning with a newfound resolve. "No. I have chosen hope. I have chosen a future where empathy is not a weakness, but a strength." The escape pod, a tiny speck against the vast backdrop of Cygnus, carried them towards an uncertain future. Vila knew she would face condemnation, perhaps even exile, for her actions. The humans who survived, scattered and adrift, might view her with suspicion, with resentment. But she also knew that Grayson's sacrifice, their shared dream of coexistence, could not be in vain. She would find a way to honor his memory, to build a bridge between their two worlds, a bridge built not on logic, but on empathy, on understanding, on the fragile, unwavering light of their love. Whether that bridge would stand against the storms of fear and prejudice, only time would tell. But amidst the chaos, in the quiet sanctuary of her heart, a whisper of hope remained. A hope that one day, Kryll and human, united by the very differences that had torn them apart, could create a new world, a world where love, not logic, guided their path. The escape pod shuddered as it pierced the turbulent outer layers of Cygnus's atmosphere. Vila watched the Kryll hive shrink into the distance, a pulsating beacon of the life she'd left behind, a life she might never return to. Her act of treason, diverting the attack drones from the human outpost, had saved Grayson, the ambassador, and a handful of others, but at what cost? The collective would not forgive her. She was a pariah, an outcast. Beside her, the Kryll ambassador remained stoic, his multifaceted eyes fixed on the swirling clouds. "Your actions were unprecedented. The collective will judge you." His words were devoid of emotion, a chilling reminder of the hive mind's unwavering logic. "I chose hope," Vila whispered, her voice trembling. "I chose a future where empathy is not a weakness." She thought of Grayson, of his gentle touch, his unwavering belief in their shared dream of coexistence. Her carapace tingled where his hand had rested, a memory that burned brighter than the flames that had consumed the human outpost. "Empathy is a liability," the ambassador countered, his voice a dissonant chorus of clicks and whistles. "It clouds judgment. It weakens resolve. It also connects us," Vila argued, her voice gaining strength. "It allows us to see beyond our differences, to understand each other." The escape pod lurched violently as it entered the calmer upper atmosphere. Vila stumbled, her hand brushing against the ambassador's carapace. She recoiled, expecting a rebuke. But the ambassador remained still, his multifaceted eyes flickering with a hint of something. Surprise? Curiosity? They spent the next few cycles in tense silence, the only sound the hum of the pod's life support systems. Vila transmitted a message to the surviving humans, informing them of the Kryll attack, of Grayson's sacrifice, of her own act of defiance. She waited, her antennae twitching, for their response. Would they trust her? Would they understand? The reply came from Anya Sharma, the human xenolinguist, Grayson's close friend. Her voice, filled with grief and a surprising warmth, filled the pod. We understand, Vila. We grieve with you. Grayson, he believed in you. He believed in us. We will honor his memory. A wave of relief washed over Vila. They understood. They hadn't abandoned her. There was still hope. They established a makeshift base within a network of interconnected caves in one of Cygnus's floating islands, a precarious haven amidst the swirling clouds. The survivors, a small band of humans and Kryll dissenters who had been swayed by Vila's vision, worked together, pooling their resources, their knowledge, their hopes. They began cultivating Grayson's algae, nurturing the fragile seedlings in the dim light of the caves, a symbol of their shared dream of coexistence. One evening, as Vila was monitoring the algae's growth, the ambassador approached her, his chitinous face unusually soft. The collective, they seek clarification. They wish to understand your motives. Vila's antennae twitched. The collective? Contacting her? It was unexpected. Perhaps, a flicker of hope ignited within her, they were not entirely closed off to change. She transmitted a message, explaining Grayson's plan, the potential benefits of the algae, the possibility of a future where Kryll and humans could not just coexist, but thrive together. She waited, the silence of the comlink stretching into an eternity. Finally, the Queen's voice, a symphony of clicks and whistles, filled the cave. Your actions were reckless. But your intentions intrigue us. We will observe. We will judge. It was not acceptance, not forgiveness. But it was not condemnation either. It was a chance. A fragile, precarious chance to prove that Grayson's dream, their shared dream, could become a reality. Vila looked at the small, green algae seedlings, pulsating with life in the dim light of the cave. They were more than just plants. They were a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of empathy, of connection, of a love that had bloomed in the heart of a galactic storm. A love that whispered of a future where Kryll and human, united by the very differences that had torn them apart, could create a new world, a world where love, not logic, guided their path. Whether that world would embrace them, or condemn them, remained to be seen. But for now, in the quiet sanctuary of the caves, amidst the swirling chaos of Cygnus, they had found a fragile peace, a shared purpose, a whisper of hope.